So I'm Curtis Rogers. Like you said, I'm an instructional designer. I've been with San Juan College for about 15 years now. And so,
And same with me. I'm, as he says, the Director of Academic Technology, almost 15 years at San Juan College. So let's just jump into it and have a good time. So the first thing we want to just give you some quick background about why fully online tutoring. So it started off that our Spanish program needed a tutor. There weren't any face-to-face tutors that were available for the students, and so it's like, well, let's try something in Canvas where we can get somebody who is at a distance doing synchronous tutoring for our students with a foreign language. And so that's the kind of the gist of that.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and so it always had the face-to-face tutor, but I worked with a Spanish instructor quite a lot. She's a good friend of mine. And one thing that we kind of thought about the idea of was to prototype a fully online tutor that we could use for Spanish, because some students, they don't want to speak Spanish in front of others. I get that. And so by doing it online, it also gave us the ability to do it after hours and on weekends. And so that's kind of how we got started with the idea.
Okay. So just real quick on how it...
You may want to hold your mic a little closer.
How it works in Canvas. And so we developed a module in every course that with Spanish that's on our campus. And it had 3 components: using the discussion tool, and then also the conversation tool in Canvas, and then a program we call TeamViewer. We don't call it that, it's what it is. But it's a web conferencing tool that's free of charge. So.
Okay. Yeah, so let's go ahead and take a look. We're going to look in Canvas, and we'll show you how we have our module set up for that. Okay, so basically this module right here for the tutor is the one that the Spanish instructor imports to her various courses. The first item that we have here is a content page, and basically it gives an explanation on how to use that. Okay, so we have step-by-step instructions. It allows for text, audio, and video through the discussion board, and we give them an expectation of what the response time would be like on that, so a 24-hour response on that. We can also answer text, audio, and video through the conversations, and then the third way is the live one-on-one through TeamViewer, and then we give the particulars of that. There are 2 links there that students are able to get into TeamViewer. And then on the bottom, we made a YouTube video that basically is a screencast of how all of this works for the students.
Okay. And then just a quick example of what a discussion might look for the student. At the top, the tutor introduces herself to the student, saying, hey, both in English and Spanish, if there's anything you want to ask, ask it here, audio, video, text, whatever is fine. Está bien. I'm not Spanish, Curtis is.
So the first part's the introduction, and what we did is, this isn't a live class, so we just put a kind of an example of what we would see in there. And so the first one would be like the student asking incorrectly if this is the correct way to say something in Spanish. And then the next one down is the Spanish tutor responding, giving me a couple different examples of how I might prefer to word that. And then the last one is just to demonstrate the video capability. So that's just a recording of me actually saying it back to the instructor. The tutor. The tutor.
Okay.
So that's how our discussions work. Now the next one, the conversations. What we do there is the Spanish tutor, like we said, is added to all the classes. And so what she does is she sends out one message at the beginning of the semester to all the courses, and just says, hey, this is a Spanish tutor. If you need some help and you want to do it through conversations, just reply to this. And the students are really good about responding to that. Again, they can do video, audio, or text.
So just real quick on TeamViewer, the reason we really like this tool is, one, it's free. Anyone can use it. It allows for online meetings, or even just being able to remote control someone else's desktop, which, for help desk purposes and things like that is really cool. And you can switch between those things. You also have the ability to share webcams, desktops that has whiteboards. And so we were thinking along the lines is that if, not just with Spanish, but future tutoring options might need other tools while they're doing that. And sometimes video won't work, and so the students can still chat with the tutor.
Yeah, it does give the tutor a little bit of an ability to tech support. So for instance, if the student's able to connect, but they can't get their video working, which happened a little bit at the beginning, she is able to actually chat with them a little bit and get them squared away. And that was, in my experience, it was 100% effective. The students figured it out right away, got their stuff working, so.
Yep. And the other part of it too is that the team viewer or the student, all they have to do is click that link that was in the course, and it's an EXE that's already, it's just, what's the word? It's self-contained. So they just double click that EXE once it's downloaded to their computer. It doesn't actually have to install anything. They're just able to start using it. They enter their meeting ID, that's it. They don't even have to have admin control on the computer that they're using because it's just a self-contained EXE or for Mac. It also works on iPads, Androids. There's a TeamViewer app for that as well. And so the student could just use their iPhone with the TeamViewer app and chat with the tutor.
Doesn't require them to have any special account or anything else like that. They're able to just type in their name and go for it.
Do you have a question?
Can you record the meetings and save them?
The question was, can you record the meetings and save them? I believe there is some functionality with that. For like safety reasons, it actually records every single session, and you can access those. So if something happened during that meeting, you would be able to pull that back up. So, is there another question? He's got a microphone coming for you, real quick.
A whiteboard, you mentioned that it has a whiteboard. Could
Yes,
you
it
does.
explain what, like if, for math tutoring, could they write out equations?
Absolutely. So,
Correct.
right here, and we'll actually address that a little bit, how this method can be used for other disciplines besides Spanish. So.
Yeah, so that is an option. Yeah, the whiteboard comes up, they can draw on the screen, or if they pull up their desktop, they can draw on the desktop and say, here, this is what you do in this program if it was a software tutoring.
Yeah, and really, if you look right here, this is actually the main
The full
interface
team,
for
yeah.
TeamViewer. Yeah, so they are able to transfer files and get their audio stuff set up and have the whiteboard. Right now, we have the video expanded, so the video is in the main screen there. But they do have the option to bring that to the forefront.
And then if that instructor or the tutor needed to provide them to present, they could do that. And it's not just, doesn't have to be one student either, as many people can sign up and get in there. So, okay. So some considerations, just if you're considering this for yourself. So in Canvas, we created a special tutor role with special permissions. We actually started it with the observer role that's already in the admin. So this would be for your admin folks. And so all we did was add some extra capabilities. One of the things is that you can't, as an observer, you can't email everybody in the class. So we gave that role permission to them. Or
Moderate discussion.
yeah, moderate discussions, edit and delete things. But when we started out with the teacher role, they had too much access. They could see grades and other things. And so we played with it and found that the observer role was the best option for that tutor, and then with some tweaks in the role area. And I know that's super tiny, and you probably can't see it. Even if you were right here, you wouldn't be able to, but we will have our slides posted in the community that you can then zoom in and check that out. Or if you want to chat with us, we can give you a better screenshot of what we gave those folks.
Okay, so the other thing too is this is our third semester of doing it. The first semester was a prototype. It basically really the prototype came from us just hanging out outside one day on a 5-minute break and saying, hey, you think we could do on fully online tutoring? It's like, yeah, why not?
Let's
try
do it.
So we started talking about the mechanics, and that's where it came from. And we've had a few ideas that have come from little breaks like that. Anyway, now that we're basically, we've just completed our third semester of it, our second full semester where we're really using the tutor. We found during the second semester that what happens to those students that just cannot figure out TeamViewer? Do I get this DMG file for my Windows machine? How do we help them? And so what we did was we wanted to provide a phone number. Now, since the tutor's not on campus, the tutor's off campus, we wanted a phone number that the student could call, yet not actually give out the tutor's actual cell phone number. Like it get creepy. But anyway, so what we did is we set up a Google Voice account, which basically allows us to have a phone number that we can give out and we can shut off whenever we want to. This also would facilitate other tutors potentially being able to use the same phone number because you can make it go out to different lines. And so that's what we used, and students did actually use it. So we were able to pick up some students that may not have been able to connect otherwise.
Yeah, so the key thing with this one is that it's one of the points down below is that creating a generic account. And so it's just Spanish tutor. So if that person who's doing it this semester has to go off someplace else, or if it's a student who's graduated or whatever, and you want to keep that rolling, you don't have to go through and recreate all the accounts and change passwords and things like that. Creating that generic account can work. And then if you, oh, it's expanding, we need more people. So now 2 people or 3 people can log into that and just hit all the questions that come up, and doesn't have to necessarily be that, tied to just one person. And the reason we did that is we've also had experience using it for our embedded English teachers, our tutors, or our digital librarians. We don't add the physical person to the course, just this generic account, so that it's not tied to a particular person.
Mm-hmm. That way too, if the tutor happens to also be a student, we're not messing up their student account by sending them a whole bunch of tutor related stuff.
Okay.
The next one, I'll let you take that one, Sam. The conferences in Canvas.
Right, so one of the questions we get is why not use the conferencing tool in Canvas? And the biggest thing was, well, we had 12 sections of Spanish, and there wasn't a way to create one conference that all the students could get into without creating a whole nother course and all that and invite people to it. We didn't want the tutor to have to sit there with 12 conference windows open waiting for students to come in. So that's why we use the TeamViewer component. That way, there's just one meeting ID, everyone comes to the same spot, and it just really works out. Now, we did research, and Big Blue Button can be purchased for a bigger, a better Big Blue Button experience, and it does allow it for you to create one conference and then invite people out, and it's not tied to a particular course. But at this point in our trying all this out, the cost wasn't, it wouldn't be a good return on our investment. But if you had multiple tutors using it, or maybe multiple subject matters doing it, then maybe that would be a better option, so that it can still stay embedded inside Canvas. But so far, TeamViewer has worked super well for that.
I'll talk about the scheduler tool. So the scheduler tool is one of the core components of this. So basically, the way we schedule the tutor is in 2 ways. We have done it in 2 ways. We're going back to our original method. The first thing was we set up an appointment group for the tutor. Okay. This last semester, this last fall, spring, what we did was we had an open session where the tutor would have the TeamViewer session open and just sit there for 2 hours, kind of like if they're in the tutoring center just waiting for somebody to come in. That wasn't as successful as having appointment groups where the students could actually sign up. And so right here, I'm showing you how I set that up. So basically our tutoring happens on, like in this instance, it was Saturday and Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m., okay? And what we wanted to do is we wanted to give each student a 30-minute long session. And by what I did was I put in 7 to 9 p.m. and then I split it into slots of 30 minutes each. Once you click split, it'll just split it out there for you. Down here in the options, this is pretty important. We limit each time slot to 1 user. That way we don't have people getting embarrassed or whatever. And then participants can only attend 1 appointment. That way you don't have somebody who's like, I think I'll log in at some point on Sunday, so I'm going to sign up for them all. So,
or dominate the whole afternoon, and then just because they think they need 2 hours of help, and the tutor needs to be able to help other people. So,
yeah, sometimes the tutor would talk to them for quite a while if there's no one else scheduled. But
yeah, the other thing with creating that account and adding them to every single course, the tutor can then create an appointment group that spans across all 12 courses. So they just check which courses they want that to show up into. Currently, the Span Tutor only has access to the Span Tutor generic course that we created for this presentation. But if it was listed there, every single Spanish course that was on her or his course list would show up there, and they could check which Spanish courses could see or make an appointment with this particular appointment group. I think.
Student buy-in
Yeah.
was another big one too. It's so right now our Spanish course is actually going online very soon. It's being redesigned to facilitate that. And so student buy-in, what the instructor did, and again, she's a good friend of mine, she actually was making assignments where the students would have to go interact with the tutor. The issue we had though was that the face-to-face tutor was available literally for the 30 minutes before and after class. So what students were doing for their assignment was just running really quick over the tutoring center, getting their stuff answered, and then showing up and doing it that way. Now the instructors actually redesigned it a little bit to where the students have to do more interaction. They have to come up with their own questions, and they have to write about how that interaction went for an assignment. And so that we'll see next semester how that affects buy-in on it. A lot of students did use the tool, and the students that did use the tool had really good things to say about it. It's just, they'll always take the path of least resistance, and so going to the tutoring center, which is literally 100 yards away from the classroom, you know, it's pretty easy to do.
Right, but as the key thing with this one is that it was after hours. And so the students who couldn't make it, if they had work and they had to leave right away or couldn't come in before class, that was their option, only option to get tutoring for their Spanish class. And so that was the other reason, you know, the biggest reason why we did that. And that's the best way to ensure that student buy-in is, you know, working with those instructors and encouraging them to, you know, maybe provide an assignment to go use that tutor, and maybe even calling it a different name even so that, you know, that it doesn't get that negative connotation, oh, I need tutoring. Maybe it's just, you know, practice your Spanish.
In the live class, that's what we did call it. We did, there we go. In the live class, that's what we called it. We called it the Spanish practice, because there are some students that, I don't need tutoring, you know.
Yeah. So one of the things that we didn't touch on is that with that appointment group, we did go ahead and masquerade as the Spanish tutor and created that for the student. But going forward, if we were to add multiple subjects or, you know, things like that, then we would probably work with those tutors in training so that they can go in and set it up themselves. But with this trial piloting stuff, we went ahead and set it up for them. But that's just another thing to consider. You know, just one more thing to have to get set up at the beginning of every semester. All right. So one of the things that we wanted to kind of talk about was just where we see this moving to for us in the future. And so like we said, it doesn't have to be tied to just one subject, tutoring online. So if it was a math tutor, it doesn't necessarily also have to be a webcam with a talking head. If you flip a webcam back upside down and then hold it over a piece of paper, now you're filming the handwriting. And so instead of maybe even using the whiteboard, which is tricky to use with the mouse, you could just write it out on a piece of paper and solve a problem and work through it, record that YouTube video, and then or share it through TeamViewer, and then scan that document when the tutoring session is done and send that to the student when it's all over. And so that's one way of just doing it. Any other language would work. Because TeamViewer allows you to share desktop, you know, doing training on software. So if it's a Word class or a word processing class, you could show them how to operate those functionalities in those Microsoft products or whatever. So it doesn't just have to be Spanish. That's why we call it fully online tutoring, is that it could be any topic.
And so I'll talk about buy-in from one instructor. So one of the hurdles we had to cross was our institution didn't have any real fully online tutors. We had basically somewhat of an English tutor that you could submit papers to and they'd check them out and send them back to you. But it was kind of like more of an email kind of a tool than anything else. And so what we ended up having to do was the Spanish teacher and myself and the future tutor, we all went and ganged up on the director of the tutoring center. And we said, this will work, and here's why it'll work. You'll have a Canvas administrator literally looking over the shoulder of the Spanish tutor to make sure nothing's going wrong.
And also help that he's married to the Spanish tutor.
But yeah, that doesn't hurt. You should try it sometime. But anyway, no, that was one thing. That was one of our selling points, is that we'd be right there with the, you know. So in your institution, you could say have the Spanish tutor available during the day or something like that when somebody could be with them. And then also having buy-in from the instructor too. The instructor, she's real open-minded about this kind of stuff. She's not necessarily the most technically minded, but she's really open-minded, trying new things that she thinks will help her students out. And she's had nothing but positive stuff to say about the online tutoring. She feels like it does work.
So it's really more of a grassroots kind of organic way of making this grow. Sorry. My group knows why that's funny, but that's okay.
Something that happened to us in the game field yesterday. It's not a story for right now.
No, but it did happen where, you know, I can see this as we go forward. It worked here, and gives us the fuel to make sure that, hey, this is going to work for another subject. And I think our tutoring center, you know, we're hesitant at first, but now they're full for it, and I think it's going to be moving more so. And so as our online components increase at San Juan College, it's just going to be more and more necessary. So.
All right. Next slide.
So we have time for questions. Yes, sir. But we got a microphone coming for you.
I'm really loud.
Well, it's for the video.
I've used TeamViewer, and it was a good tool. It actually stopped working. It gets blocked by our district
Okay.
when I'm at school. But I can use it from home, and it's a great tool. I don't remember, though, what's the user limit? How many students could you simultaneously have in there? Do you know?
I haven't hit one yet, but we've only had 3 or 4 students maybe at one time. So I think one time I was trying it, I had 10 people that could see my screen, but the only reason that got limited was because we were using the conference phone in my office, so it only goes up to 7. So I haven't hit a limit, but that doesn't mean that there isn't one. But I think with this particular use case, we're really only trying to get that 1 or 2, 3 people going. But I think you could probably get lots of people. Now, if you're going to have 20 people using all of them using their webcam, it's just going to be depend on your bandwidth, I think, more than the tool.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
I was wondering how many of the students used the discussion board, because it sounds like other students can see their questions and
Exactly,
the
yeah.
answers,
They can, yeah.
and whether that fear of, not wanting to sound dumb.
Especially with a foreign
Stuff.
language, yeah, I'm not gonna get up there and say everything in front of the class.
Yeah, it wasn't used as much as the TeamViewer session or the conversation tool. But it was there, and if students were comfortable, they posted.
Yeah, and especially, this design was based off of our original prototype, which we're trying to be kind of neutral to what class we were really developing for. We happen to have buy-in from the Spanish teacher, but basically we wanted to make it a way where maybe there are some questions that would be best put out there in front of everybody, and in a different discipline where people might not be so hesitant. And so this does allow them to have that option if they want it.
Yes, sir.
Have you looked into the possibility of, rather than embedding the tutor in the course, of having a large generic tutoring site so that whether it's Spanish or physics or math or whatever it is, that's where the student would go?
Yeah.
We've talked about, again, our 5-minute outdoor meeting is tutor triage. And basically where the students would connect with kind of a central hub, and then they would be given the meeting ID for the type of tutoring that they wanted to have.
Yeah.
The future of this could actually look something like where you would have that. You would have somebody sitting, basically working a help desk sort of situation, where students would connect and say, I need tutoring for biology. And then they're given a meeting ID, and that connects them to the computer. Again, a future iteration, which would be nice. Right now, our tutoring center looks like a whole lot of tables with labels on them. So what would be kind of neat
It'd be like
is
a room like this with a bunch of tables and everyone sitting around, but then we would have stations
we would
maybe.
have computers on them, yeah. And so the tutor, because what we're wanting to do really, our kind of like vision is to make online and face-to-face pretty equal. There's still kind of, at our institution, there's still a bit of a divide there. Especially with Canvas, we're getting a lot of instructors finding it a lot easier to do things, so they're a little more willing to try out some new stuff. But we're wanting to kind of eliminate that divide. So if the regular tutors did have computers there and understood just the basics of running TeamViewer, or if there's somebody in the tutoring center that understood it really well, they could go around and help the tutors get set up to do what they want to do, make sure the students connected, and then they could continue their session.
And we also have worked with each of the in the tutoring center, math has a director and so on. And we've worked with them, and they've started using Canvas as a way to train their tutors. So the next step would be, here's a Canvas course that all students are added to, and then maybe going that way. But we have considered it, I guess, to answer your question, but we're still trying to figure out all the mechanics of making it work. Yes, ma'am.
I found the answer to the gentleman's question about how many participants, 25.
There we go.
So almost the whole class could get in there. Keep your class limits small, 25, that's it.
Yeah. Capped at 25, we can't have any more than that.
Can you talk a little bit more about scheduling in terms of, so you have a tutor that has a busy schedule and a student that has a busy schedule. How do you schedule that synchronous interaction?
Okay. There's a couple different ways that we did it throughout the semester. One thing was the tutor actually did get a call from a student that said, hey, it's close to finals and I really want to try my presentation. Would you be able to meet with me tonight at such and such time? And the tutor's like, yeah, sure, why not? And so they got together that way. One thing that we found is having that schedule there really helped. That was where we got the best student buy-in. And the other downside too is I think I might have mentioned it, was, when we had those open sessions, we had them 4 times a week, actually. We had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then we had the scheduled sessions on Saturday and Sunday. But again, the problem was the tutor was just like sitting there. A student might connect, but 15 minutes later, they're through. And so for the next hour and 45 minutes, the tutor's sitting there watching Univision, So anyway, and that's literally what happened. She just kind of sat there and hung out on her computer and watched TV, so.
So I think what would happen too is as we expand it, then we would just add more scheduled time so that we could address some of those busy opportunities for students so that they can connect. Right now, we're not getting enough use to warrant a whole nother tutor, but as we move forward, just adding more times that students can schedule an appointment, and then just building that up with more tutors.
In the back.
Hi. Basically, how do you deal with rescheduling of sessions, like, when students has scheduled a session, but then,
That's a great question.
have an urgent thing,
Right. So what I did was I actually built out the schedule for the entire semester at the beginning. Ideally, I would teach the tutor, but the tutor I was like,
He's married to the tutor, so he did it
it's
for
so
her.
much easier for me. Just let me do it.
I love you, dear. Let me do this for you.
But yeah. So that's really, that worked out the best. That was if you were going to do this yourself, the smartest thing to do, especially if you knew what the schedule for the tutor is going to be, is build it out. If you're feeling semi-lazy, you could build out maybe like a month or 2 of it, and then just hopefully remind yourself to go in there and add a couple more months to it later. But it's super fast. It's super easy to do. So
And if a student does cancel with the scheduling tool, they can go in and say, I can't make this one, schedule a new appointment. That whole functionality works really great with the appointment tool or the scheduler. And so it would just open up that session, and then other students, they can set up their notifications to be notified if an appointment opens up. And so they could go back in and then, hey, I want that slot.
That was one thing I will just comment on really fast, was that the students caught it. They caught it really quick. They could tell when appointments were open and closed. When we first started this, I was a little bit worried about that. I wasn't sure if the students were going to catch on to how to do scheduling, because there's not a whole lot at our school of scheduling going on that I'm aware of.
Right.
And so they didn't have trouble with it, which was really nice. Looks like we had a couple questions. Right here in the front.
Hi, so I had a question. So is your tutoring service, do you move it from semester to semester? Like, because usually, for us, we have like a fall sub-account and then a spring sub-account and then a summer sub-account. You don't have that.
No, we have it broken down by terms, and then the sub-accounts are broken by department.
Okay.
And so we just do it by term. You have fall term, spring term, and so on. And so that we don't have sub-accounts tied to semesters.
So you don't have to deal with like authentication or self-registration. Okay.
Nope.
Thanks.
So you mentioned that for TeamViewer, the students can use their phones or tablets to
Right.
join. Can the tutor use a tablet, or do they need to be on a computer?
The full featured set of the tool is better through a laptop or a desktop computer, but they could, if, let's say Curtis and her wanted to go to Albuquerque for a weekend or something, she could use her tablet and do that session still.
Because I was thinking for our students who may not want to use their own personal computers, we could maybe give them tablets that they could use specifically for
Yeah,
tutoring.
they could
And
still,
that would be
they
possible.
It
would
would
still be
work.
able to connect, yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay. And then there was one guy in the very back too.
Okay, yeah.
I assume that your tutors are paid, so how do you verify the online use time?
Excellent. Yeah, so basically what the lady who does that verification, she has adopted one of their face-to-face forms. And so the online Spanish tutor, when she starts the session, she asks for their name, she asks for their student ID number, and then she writes down the time that they interacted. And so she turns those in to the tutoring center when she turns in her timesheets.
Yeah. Sir?
So we've had fully online instructors who have tried to use like a virtual office hours, but haven't had a good turnout. So I was wondering, for face-to-face, how are you guys getting the message out to students that it's available?
So
tutoring?
what I've done the last couple semesters is I just went to the Spanish classes and explained to them how the tutoring system works. I take them through it really quick, and that's worked out good because I'm either at the college or the Spanish classes right after I get off. So I just went in there and explained it. The other thing too is in the module we do have that video that explains how to use all the tutoring. And so
and the tutor emails all the students in each class at the beginning of the semester saying, hey, if you have any questions, just reply to this response. So that it's like three or four different ways that we've got it out there.
And one other thing too is generally when I'm training somebody, like when I'm in the first night of the Spanish class, I'm pretty much accept the fact that it's going to go in this ear and out that one pretty quick. So I just remind them, this video right here, if you forget everything I just told you, watch this video and it'll get you connected with a Spanish tutor.
I think we're out of time. So if you have other questions, check us out on the community. You can get that, or our contact information is here. But thanks, everybody.